Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Vermonters are hearty and self-reliant, but hunger is still a very real issue here, and COVID-19 shed light on the need in a new and glaring way. Vermont's two major food security organizations to combat hunger are noted nationally for their work, and today they come together to let us know how we can best help ourselves and our neighbors. I want to welcome CEO of the Vermont Food Bank, John Sales, and the Executive Director of Hunger Free Vermont, Honore Horton. Thank you both for coming in.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
So John, let's start with you. Can you, just in a nutshell, tell us how your organizations actually differ?
Sure. Well, we work very, very closely together. The food bank's core mission is actually distributing food. Last year, it was 19 million pounds of food to 300 partners all across the state. Those are food shelves, meal sites, senior centers, homeless shelters, after-school programs, schools and hospitals. And we also do some direct programming. We do run a culinary training course and do a lot of nutrition information and just getting out there and touching people where they are.
Great. And Honore, you're Hunger Free Vermont.
Yes. So Hunger Free Vermont, we are Vermont's statewide anti-hunger advocacy, public education, training, and technical assistance organization. Okay. So we work on legislation to make nutrition programs easier to use, to make sure that here in our state and at the federal level too, we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that everyone has a right to food. Our mission is to end the injustice of hunger and malnutrition for all Vermonters. We also work in communities to help make sure that at the local level, people can organize and work together to solve the hunger challenges that they're facing at the local level.
So how has that pandemic affected the landscape of hunger in Vermont?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody viewing your show today is going to be surprised to hear that it's been a huge challenge, and hunger has increased really dramatically as a result of the pandemic here in Vermont. In fact, the University of Vermont researchers have found that over the course of the pandemic so far, so since March, 1 out of every 3 people in our state has experienced challenges with getting enough food. That is an astronomical number. We've really never seen a number that high in in the living history of Vermont.
And we have a graphic with that statistic, and also that the food bank distributed 62% more food than usual.
Well, yes, the need just skyrocketed, and so we had to respond. And the first thing the food bank did when we realized that this was happening was get more food. The federal government stepped up, our donors stepped up, and we just knew we needed to get food out there as quickly as possible. With great partnership with the state, early on we had the National Guard, and the state emergency operations folks have really been helpful.
Right. Amazing. The community, schools, restaurants, everybody really stepped up, and certainly the government relief funds were helpful. Are there other things that you've learned during this challenging time about Vermont or hunger or this landscape? John?
Absolutely. I mean, you think about what Honore just said. What we've learned is so many people are just really at the edge, and it's losing 1 or 2 paychecks, and they need help paying the rent. They need help getting food. As we know, food insecurity is simply financial insecurity. There's plenty of food in the grocery stores. It's just a matter of people having the disposable income. And oftentimes the food budget is what gets cut because it's fungible. The other things have to be paid, and you can skimp on food. We also know that we need to get closer to people. We can't wait for people to come to us. We need to be able to bring the food to them. Transportation is a huge issue in Vermont. And really, stigma still exists. Going to the food shelf is not something that people want to do. And we need to find ways to make it more comfortable, because this is here for people.
Absolutely. And John, with the pandemic shining this new and ongoing light, Vermonters have stepped up, and you've been, local and national supporters have stepped up in these new ways. How are you leveraging this really significant support to move the needle on food insecurity in the short and the long term?
Yeah, well, and I'll just say thank you to all of our donors because people have stepped up in a big way. But it's really about communities. It's local communities coming together that are going to make the difference. And what we're trying to do with all this tremendous support is not only kind of flood the zone and make sure that there's food out there to support people's budgets, but also lift up communities. Fran, you talked about the restaurants and the schools. That's where the work is happening, and we want to make sure we're investing in that. So as you mentioned, we got an extraordinary gift from philanthropist Mackenzie Scott, and a lot of that $9 million gift is going to go toward building communities. We're still working on how that's going to happen, and it's tough to start new things during the pandemic, but we want to make sure that we don't go back to the old normal. We want to make sure that we don't go back to the way things were.
Right.
Yeah. And Fran, speaking of not going back to the old normal, I think that's really, really important for us to emphasize that. And it's not just in terms of how we are getting food to folks, directly, but it's also how are we using the nutrition programs that exist? How are we making them work the right way and really serve people? And, our schools have been the perfect example of what's possible here and why we can't go back. We've got schools providing universal meals to every child in their community right now at no charge to families. And we've seen how incredibly effective that has been at taking care of kids, keeping them healthy, letting them learn, and easing the incredibly stressful burden on families. And we're committed that we keep that going into the future. We want universal school meals here in Vermont as a permanent feature of our educational system.
Right, that was really a piece of the pandemic, but something you've been fighting for quite a long time. So I want to make sure that we talk about 3 Squares of Vermont, because it's a really great program that not only brings federal dollars into the state, but certainly helps feed Vermonters by helping them buy groceries. So Anor, how well do Vermonters take advantage of that? John talked about stigma. People, hesitate.
Yes.
How can we do better?
Yes, well, you're absolutely right. We have a pretty good rate of people making use of the nutrition programs that are available here in Vermont, and 3 Squares Vermont is the biggest and most important one of those. And yet, so many people in our state are eligible for this program and maybe don't know about it or think that maybe it's not meant for them. But I just want everyone to know that it's absolutely meant for all of us. This is a program that we pay for with our tax dollars. And it's a program that any one of us, any one of our families who might be struggling at a certain time and not able to afford enough healthy food is eligible to use.
Right.
And it is a program that, it's got its challenges, but at the same time, it lets you make your own choices at your own grocery store about the food that's right for you and your family.
With a card that just looks like a credit card. And John, this also helps our whole communities and local businesses, and right?
Absolutely. And, we work a lot with local farmers and both getting food donated and purchasing food from our local Vermonters who are growing. And they are also in our grocery stores. And, 3 Squares Vermont gives, like you said, it's a little credit card that you can go in and buy food, including that local food. So a boost to your food budget is something that's going to help you make choices, as Anor said, that are right for people and for their families. I get calls from folks who are, for instance, have celiac disease and can't eat gluten, and to be able to find something at the food shelf in donated foods is really challenging. So, people need support, and 3 Squares Vermont is the most effective and efficient anti-hunger program in this country.
So how do people sign up, Anor?
Well, there are several different ways that you can get yourself an application, or even just get help walking through and filling out the application with another live person here in Vermont. So one way to get started is to go to vermontfoodhelp.com. And this is a website that's got a lot of information. You can find out if you're likely eligible, and you can choose whether you want to start filling out an application online or call somebody to help you. Another way in our, of course, our cell phone age is that you can text. You can text VFB SNAP, VFB SNAP to 85511. And that's another way you'll get a couple of initial screening questions texted back to you that'll help determine if you're eligible for 3 Squares Vermont. And you can also get connected to a live person who can help you with the application. It takes some steps, but it's not that hard. And there are people here in Vermont who are ready to help walk you through that process.
And there's even a phone number that you can call, the 855-855-6181, which is fantastic. And also, you guys both have your websites, which are very clear and offer a lot. So I just want to put your websites up there. John, why don't you just read those out loud?
Sure.
Go there.
To visit Hunger Free Vermont, you go to hungerfreevt.org. Visit the Vermont Food Bank. It's vtfoodbank.org. And either one, it's clear when you get on that landing page, if you're looking for help, where you need to go.
Okay, so we just have a few seconds left. Just how do we get people out of that place of stigma and encourage them to sign up? What do you say?
I think that what's really important to remember is that we really are in this together. And in order for us to have thriving communities, have thriving neighborhoods, and have everyone in our family have what they need, then we've got to get creative and cobble together everything we can.
So, and Nora Horton of Hunger Free Vermont and John Sales, CEO of Vermont Food Bank, thank you so much for joining me today and encouraging people to get 3 Squares Vermont. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.